Welcome to Influenced. I'm Andy O, and we're talking with Joshua Trinidad, trumpet player, composer, producer, who takes multiple styles of music such as jazz, ambient, rock, electronic, lo-fi. How many more labels do I have? And elements of hip-hop, and just fuse them together so effortlessly. It's not like it's work for you at all, at least on the listening end. Remarkable ease in handling electronic and acoustic. You're a trumpet player.
Right.
And yet some people might be kind of perplexed, like, where's the trumpet? Because you're so good at working all the electronics in that. So thank you for coming in and talking with us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to see you, and it's like a homecoming for both of us, really.
No doubt.
It's
Well, let's
like
talk about that, ladies and gentlemen. This is the godfather of the Jazz Odyssey.
Wow.
That was you. How did this come about? And I know you and Carlos were talking, and how did this become a thing?
Yeah, well, it actually was my final project when I was going to school at Metro. And at UCD, they have you do like a capstone, like your final project. And I said, I really want to do something for Kuvo, and I want to do some research, like maybe start a new program. And I had talked to Carlos a couple of times, and I presented him my paper. I brought in like the whole 100 pages, and he gave it to Arturo, and it went around, and then we started to assemble our crew.
Yeah, I'm OG with you.
You're OG with us. And,
yeah.
And it all came together. So, but it was really, what we were starting to hear happen, early Metal Arc days, like 2007.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, when Jacob Fred Jazz Odyssey was coming in from
Is that
Oklahoma.
where it came from? I thought it was from Spinal Tap.
Oh, well, maybe it could too, because I love Spinal Tap.
Yeah, but Jacob Fred Jazz Odyssey.
Yeah, and I was like, and they came to Metal Arc and played a few sets a long time ago, and we just got chopping it up, and here we are. So yeah, they're very influential.
Well, thanks, man. It's like our number one show anymore.
I love it.
So it's really cool. Want to talk about a dear friend of both of us. An influence to you.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say the name, Ron Miles. Ron Miles. But
Ron, he was a lot to me, more than obviously a teacher, more than a mentor. When I decided to go to school. I said, "Oh, so you made that album for Blue Note?" He's like, "No, I just made the album. Blue Note just is starting to get hip now." I said, "Oh, that's cool." He's like, "Just keep doing what you're doing." He's like, "People will get hip to it eventually." And then we kind of walked off, and Mike's like, "Let's go get something to eat." So we went to this really good it was kind of like Jerusalem's here, but in the West Village, and there was Ron. I was like, "Oh, now we're gonna eat with you." But there was something about that final interaction with him that I knew. I felt something. And then he passed away but a few weeks after that.
Yeah, I remember last time I saw him, he was at Dazzle with Don Clement.
Oh,
and that band that he did that thing. That was Don's gig. And he was,
right.
And I had a chance to talk to him after, and it was a sort of, we'll get together, we'll do this, and then, and then, a magic moment for me was a tribute out at City Park.
Oh, right.
And you remember the last album?
Yeah.
And there was the rainbow. And I just thought, okay, that's Ron talking to us.
It totally was.
Yeah, totally a thing.
Yeah, I miss him. I miss him a lot.
Oh man, everybody knew him.
Yeah.
But I know you especially. And so, having addressed that, yes, a mentor and a teacher, but how do you come out from under the sway of such a powerful personality as a trumpet player,
right,
and make your own way as your own self, as Joshua?
Right. Well, I was just talking to my son about this, and he's trying to decide what college to go to, And of course he's thinking about these like real prestigious colleges. And I remember when I was living in New York, like there was a bunch of us that were saying like where we studied, and everybody's like, oh, I went to Berkeley, I went to NYU. And then, I spoke and I was like, well, I studied with Ron at Metro. And everybody was like instant respect for him. He had such a magical just influence over everybody. And so it was almost more prestigious than going to Berkeley or anywhere else. Like having that time with Ron for so long was worth more than anywhere like a new school or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but to come out of that and to be influenced by him so much, one thing that he's always said is I have to be me. And, for a while there, it's like we emulate the people we love.
Yeah.
Because they have things that we don't have. And then eventually you have to put the pieces together that are truly you, then different.
And as you were doing that, your musical influences, I wore the short.
I love that, the Miles Davis. Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Well, and what you have in common
right
is that he kind of busted down the door, putting a wah-wah pedal with a trumpet
right
and an echo.
Yeah.
And every trumpet player thereafter was like paying attention to that.
Oh yeah.
Because the wah-wah was a derby or a toilet plunger.
Right. Yeah.
But now you got to work a cooler wah-wah.
Yeah. It's kind of nice.
Did any of that lead to you working with electronics and trumpet, because it's an acoustic instrument?
Right.
And yet you're aware of how to work those pedals and stuff.
Yeah.
Some people are like, I can't figure out how this. But guys like Kung Fu.
Yes.
You were in, and what's the other guy, Eric Truffaut?
Yeah.
There's some guys
they're
that I know
fantastic.
that you listen to.
I was in music school thinking like you had to be very conservatory, and he was like just saying the things that I've always felt, and I was like, wow, I love Kung Fu. Like I love like everything about him, and he made me feel like seen, like he recognized me.
Yeah.
And so it was great. But Eric Truffaut, as you mentioned, Nils Peter Mondver from Norway, and he's the one who actually got me on a label in London with Rare Noise, and so I owe him a great amount of gratitude.
Yeah, you're quite the world traveler these days.
A little bit. Yeah.
Do you frequently go overseas to do these recordings?
Yeah. So the one before this one was in just outside of Oslo, about 200 miles north, in a town called Aslan, and beautiful recording studio called Ocean Sound, and a lot of the Norwegian cats record there. And I said, well, I'm going to go there and I'm going to bring some Norwegian cats. And we recorded a record there, and it was the most beautiful scene, like huge windows with like icebergs just right there, just all in real time.
Just going to ask you that because we've talked about this before, where you talk about how this surroundings, Rocky Mountain, Colorado, is in as much an influence to you.
Oh yeah.
So when you're over there in Oslo, is that also a thing? You're taking that with you?
Yeah, I think so. It definitely felt natural to be in that environment. Obviously, like when we got there was about a foot of snow. It was a little different, but it was like right by the water, and it just felt super comfortable.
Yeah. Now I want to talk about Resurgence. Mm-hmm. This is the second album. How do I say it? Is it Ryatsu?
Yeah.
Okay, and now this guy's a soundscape artist is the best way I can put it.
He's
amazing. And you working with him, what a ideal pairing. First off, how did this happen? How did you meet this guy?
Well, I was connected. So from the record I recorded in Norway, a gentleman named Arun, and he runs a record label called Subcontinental, and wrote me on Facebook and said, I'd love to put out a record with you and Ryatsu. And I said, at first I thought it was kind of like, I thought it was spam, So I didn't respond to him for like a few months.
Sure.
And then I was like, oh, maybe this is real. So I wrote him, and then come to find out Ryatsu actually has done a lot of work with Ari Truffaut. They toured together.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, let's do this. And it was like a match made in heaven, me and him.
Well, and you've worked with some people. Sage Francis.
Yeah.
Chicano Batman.
Yeah.
Nathaniel.
Yeah.
Nathaniel, yeah. Did you meet him here? Was that?
Yeah, I met Nathaniel
Were you
here.
at the Night Sweats, or did you
Yeah.
tour? How did that work?
Yeah, I've known Nathaniel Rateliff for a really long time, since maybe around 2008. I think he just moved here from Missouri not too long before that.
That's when I met him.
Okay.
We were rehearsing down the hall.
Oh.
In this place over here, right?
Okay.
And,
yeah.
So we watch each other rehearse. Sometimes.
Yeah.
What a great guy.
He's such a nice guy. Still is. He's definitely like a big brother to me.
Yeah.
Still, he's somebody I look up to. I watch the way he moves and integrates himself into the national and global scene now, and it's very inspiring to watch him and knowing that he really is rooted here in Denver.
Yeah. So you get together with Ryatsu and you do the album Lithium?
Yeah, that was our first one.
That's the first one. And this is Resurgence is sort of a follow-up.
Yes.
Very different album.
Yes.
Lithium is like a sort of, like the title.
Yeah.
It's like, you're dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
And Resurgence seems to me a sort of the Lithium worked.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like a budding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like
so
the record cover.
Resurgence. The titles are exactly right.
Yeah.
So the process, he's in Mumbai.
Yeah.
You're in Denver.
Yeah.
And are you recording together, or is this kind of like COVID recording?
Yeah. No, it's definitely the file sharing world of, hey, I came up with this, then we send it back and forth and stack it with each other, and then ultimately he produces the final pieces together, and he's just fantastic at it.
I love the way your trumpet sounds on
this one. He made it sound fantastic.
Yeah. And one of the things, your titles are, you're about titles, because it's like you're giving somebody a direction.
Yeah.
When the music is coming out, you've got this. And I found that on Resurgence and other things in your previous recordings.
Yeah.
Does the title come after, or do you decide you're going to make a piece of music based on a title, or?
It's kind of both.
It's kind of both.
Yeah, it's kind of both. Sometimes we just make a tune and we know what the general theme is, but then we kind of think of what's a gap of what we're trying to express, and does this cover that gap, and what are we trying to say? Like you said, what kind of direction can we give folks of listening? Direction. And so, it's kind of before, and sometimes it comes after.
So of all the things you've done, I mean, you're a sideman a lot.
Yeah.
How is that versus being a leader? I mean, it's obvious you're in charge.
Yeah.
Versus you'll do what they want, but do you get ink in front of you, or do they just say it's in this key, do it?
It depends on the people I play with. But I think what I take from all those situations is it helps shape my music.
Yeah.
So being a sideman, it's like, what can I steal from these folks that I love so much about playing with them that I can bring to my own music? And so, playing with people here locally like Danette Hollowell and Felicia Hernandez with Latin Soul and Wheelchair Sports Camp,
I love that band.
Yes.
I was trying to ingratiate myself as a bass player with that band.
Oh, okay.
I was like, man, I just love this thing.
Oh,
she's wonderful.
Oh, she is great. And so all these people I play with, and I steal a little bit of piece of them, and I bring it to the table.
Right. So Resurgence, is this just fresh out now?
It's 4 weeks out now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to be at Dazzle.
Yes.
Coming up. Let me make sure I got the date right here underneath me here. It's on the 21st.
Yes.
Over there.
Yes.
And it's with your quartet. Now, who's in your quartet? What's this?
So it's kind of inspired out of Kwang Vu's sound a bit, but it's drummer Sean Morrell, who used to be the drummer for Ian Cook's band when Ian Cook was here in town. And then another gentleman named Chris Johnson, who's amazing at synthesizer. And then Mike Brown, who is just moved back from New York, who I was living a block from in New York, and we actually went to Metro together, and now he's moved back here, so we kind of follow each other, I think.
Are you living in Denver again?
Yeah.
How was that in New York? Your family all went out there.
Yeah, we all went out there. It's, I think I was expecting it to be a little too much like Denver, and it's not Denver. It's not Denver. As much as like, we're so lucky here to have such a good community of just folks, just good people. And not to say that New York didn't have that, but I was looking for something like that, and it just didn't. I didn't see it.
Well, we're glad to have you back.
Especially happy to be
glad
back.
to have you here. What else is coming up? I mean, what's the next project? I know you're always looking to the next thing.
Yeah.
So the Resurgence is out, and you're supporting that, and you're doing your quartet.
Yeah.
What's in the horizon for you?
Yeah. Well, right now I'm working on a project with a local poet. His name is Hoser. He is an amazing poet. I don't know if you've ever interacted with him. We're going to do like a trio of like poet, guitar, trumpet, and we've been rehearsing like crazy lately and recording. But I think the big thing coming up is a solo record I have finished called The Darkness Within. And it's like the things that you don't want to tell anybody about your life. Yeah. Because you're too embarrassed, and you wouldn't even tell like your best friend. It's the things they say you take to the grave with you. Yeah. So each track is one of those things that I'm going to try to express musically. So The Darkness Within is going to be the record.
All right. Well, I definitely want a copy of the Poet album.
That will be coming soon.
Side,
yes.
Yeah. So get a hold of me about that.
Yeah.
I just have one last thing to ask: is there a bucket list of people, living or gone, that you never got to play with, that you'd love to be sitting on a bandstand with?
Gosh, I'd say there's two people that come to mind right away that live. James Blake. Ooh. And if James Blake is listening to this, dude, I've been writing you on Facebook. Obviously, it's not your Facebook, but write me back. Kendrick Lamar. Obviously, is another individual I love so much. I'd say those two just come straight to mind. I'd say passed away. Gosh, there's so many. So many, but I would say just in our current just landscape right now, Sergio Mendes would have been a nice one. Man, that would have been a good one.
What a all around guy. He was. I have a secret for you. The first time I ever heard "Fool on the Hill." I thought it was a Sergio Mendes tune.
Oh, really?
I didn't know. We're in Colorado here, right?
Yeah.
And they were not playing deep cuts off of the Beatles albums on the radio.
Sure.
So I had no idea that was a Paul McCartney song.
Oh, yeah.
And then so the first time I heard it on Magical Mystery Tour, I'm like, oh, wow, they're covering Sergio Mendes. So realized.
And that's my favorite record of the Beatles, too. That was the best one.
Yeah, it's, and crazily not on purpose.
Yeah.
It's,
Right, yeah. I love that one.
Hey, well, listen, again, Joshua Trinidad's going to be over at Dazzle September 21st, 9:30 p.m. with your quartet.
Yes.
And we're so fortunate to have you come in. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for the time. I really appreciate it, Andy.
You bet.